Hi guys, welcome back to the Curly Reader. So today I'm going to be doing my first installment of a new series on my channel called my Growing TBR. And in this series, I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I am adding to my GoodReads TBR throughout the month. And I figured I will be filming this monthly, and so it will kind of give you guys an idea of what types of books spark my interest and what types of books I like to add to my TBRs that I think that I might be interested in the future. And so there's a couple different ways that I do my TBRs. So I have my physical TBR, which is predominantly back here. These are all the books that I own that I have not read yet. I don't always put these books on my GoodReads TBR, but if I have a book on my GoodReads TBR that I purchase, I don't take it off of my GoodReads TBR. Hopefully that makes sense. But so not all of these are on my GoodReads TBR. My GoodReads TBR is predominantly books that I've come across or that have been mentioned to me or that I've found somewhere that have sparked an interest that I don't want to forget about. So these can be covers at the library or a bookstore that I catch my eye, or a book that somebody on Instagram recommends, and I'll just go over to GoodReads and type it in and put it on my want to read list so that I don't forget about it. These books aren't going anywhere, so I don't have to not forget about them. So those are the two kind of different TBRs that I have. In this video, I'm only going to be talking about my GoodReads TBR because most of these you see when I do my thrift store hauls and things like that. So that's a little bit of an explanation. But stick around and we'll get into which books did I add to my TBR this month. So I have my tablet here so I can kind of go through each of these books and hopefully share with you where I found the books from and what sparked my interest about them. So the first book that I added to my GoodReads TBR in the month of June was The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. And this book I heard about on a couple different YouTube channels, but the last one I remember hearing about it from was Books and Lala. She talked about this book. The cover is phenomenal, so that right away piqued my interest. And then they started talking about how it's a girl who finds a book, and the book is a doorway into other worlds, potentially. I think it was enough for me to mark it want to read, and hopefully I'll be getting to it. I believe that this one is YA as well. The next book that I have on here is Molokai, I think is how you pronounce it, by Alan Brennert. And this is one, I am part of a Facebook group that is kind of a book club of sorts. It's basically a Facebook group where we talk about different books. If you need book recommendations or want to talk about a great book that you just read, it's just kind of a space to be able to do that. And so as part of this, one of the moderators always goes through and talks about which books are on sale on Amazon on any particular day or week or whatever. And this is one that came up for that. And she said that if you haven't read this, it's definitely worth the read. And I'm not 100% sure what it's about, but it is set in Hawaii over a century ago. So it's kind of historical fiction in Hawaii. And so I thought that that sounded very different, and it came highly recommended from somebody that I trust. And so I went ahead and marked that one as to read as well. The next one that I marked to read is If You Want to Make God Laugh by Bianca Marais. I read Hum If You Don't Know the Words this past month and absolutely loved it and fell in love with Bianca Marais' writing style, and so immediately went and added this one to my want to read list. This follows 2 or 3 women in post-apartheid South Africa, I believe. I know it's set in South Africa, but outside of that, I'm not 100% sure of the rest of the details, but I love Bianca Marais' writing style enough that I didn't really care. So this is one that I definitely will be getting from the library either in July or in August, for sure. The next one I added is The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman, and this is one that I have just been seeing everywhere on Facebook, on Instagram. So from my understanding, it is about Nina, who has been an only child. She works at a bookstore. She likes her kind of seclusive life. And when her father, who she's never known, dies, she finds out that she has a ton of family living around her, and they all want to know her. And so she's having to really come out of her shell and really go out of her comfort zone to get to know all these people that she doesn't really want to know. And it just seems really funny and fun, and I think that it'll be a nice contemporary when I'm in the need for something like that. So the next book that I added is called The Lager Queen of Minnesota by J. Ryan Stradell. And this is one that I think I saw on an Instagram post or a Facebook post where it's like, you should read these 10 books this summer. It might have been a library thing. I don't honestly remember, or GoodReads even. But I live in Minnesota, and it's set in Minnesota, so that initially sparked my interest. And then it seems like it is about two sisters who kind of don't get along. One of them they live on a farm. They lived on a farm with their father. Their father ended up leaving the entire farm to one sister and not both. And so kind of the differences in their lives because of that. So it seemed interesting to me, interesting enough that I wanted to maybe check it out. The next one on my list is Finding Serendipity by Angelica Banks. This is a middle grade book. This was a cover ad for me. We were at the library perusing books. I was helping my kids try to find things, and the cover of this one really stuck out to me. And it's about a little girl whose mother goes missing, and she goes to try to find her, and just kind of all the magical things that happen along the way. And it just sounded cute, and the cover, it spoke to me, so I went ahead and added it so I wouldn't forget to check it out later. And then I also added The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. This is one that has been around for quite a while, and honestly, I think it's gone on and off my TBR a couple of times. But in that same Facebook group that I previously mentioned, somebody mentioned that it was their favorite book of all time and nothing could compare to it. And it was enough for me to kind of get a little bit interested in it and check it out on GoodReads. And I'm not really sure what it's about, but I know that it is one that has kind of stood the test of time, and a lot of people have really, really enjoyed it. And so yeah, I went ahead and added that one. And then there are two that I added for similar reasons, and those are A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Messner and Until We Reach Home by Lynn Austin. I am in the beginning stages of planning a trip to New York City with my mom for next spring. And one of the things that we want to do when we're there is go to Ellis Island. And so I thought that I would look up maybe some historical fiction books about Ellis Island. And these were two that came up in my search that both sounded a little bit interesting. And so I went ahead and added them. I don't know a whole lot about their plots other than they are connected to Ellis Island in some way, shape, or form, and they both have an over 4.0 rating on GoodReads. And The Fall of Marigolds has almost 35,000 reviews, and it is still over a 4.0. So I figured that might be a safe read for that. And then I also added Simplicity Parenting, Using Extraordinary Power of Less to Raise Calmer, Happier, and More Secure Kids by Kim John Payne. I don't share a lot of kind of self-help books on my channel because I don't read a lot of them, but this is one that has been recommended to me by multiple people in my real life setting. So a lot of my mom friends have read this, and all of them have absolutely raved about it. So it's one that I added on here because I think that I would really enjoy checking this out, especially if I can find it in audiobook form. But yeah, so I added that one. And then the last book that I added for June is Over the Moon by Natalie Lloyd. And this is a middle grade book that I heard about initially from a lady that I follow on Instagram, and I will leave down here somewhere her tag on Instagram. It is a middle grade fantasy about a little 12-year-old who has been chosen to compete in a competition where they train flying horses to battle monsters, and it just sounded really cool. The cover of it has like a Pegasus in a constellation, and it seems like it will be something that I would really love. And the cover, I'm telling you, I'm a sucker for a good cover of a book. So I think this would be one that if I don't get to it soon, I might save it for March next year. So anyway, those are the books that I added to my GoodReads TBR during the month of June. I really like doing this because in preparing for the video, I kind of have to go through my GoodReads and look at what I have and really remind myself why it's there. And if I can't remember why I added it, then I delete it. And so it kind of helps me purge my TBR on GoodReads a little bit more regularly so that I don't end up with 600 books and I don't remember what any of them are. So I'm only keeping the ones on my TBR that really have a purpose of being there. And I think that this will help keep me accountable to that. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it kind of helped getting to know why I'm picking the books I'm picking to add to my TBR and what kind of books spark my interest and why. And so, yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you stick around and subscribe. And until next time, see ya.